Right, let's get straight into it. Welcome to this explainer where we're going to objectively unpack a seriously complex and honestly highly publicized criminal case involving Bhagirath. Now, this situation is intensely layered. You've got massive political power dynamics, shifting narratives, and some very severe legal charges. So to cut through all that noise, we're going to rely strictly on the exact timelines, facts, and legal records detailed in our source materials to figure out exactly what happened here. Let's dive in.
Here's our roadmap for today. We'll kick things off by looking at the public image versus reality, touch on some initial controversies, dive into the core allegations, break down the legal battle of the FIRs, track the police investigation, and then wrap up with the broader political impact.
Okay, Section 1. Public image versus reality.
To really grasp the stakes of this case, you have to look closely at the public persona of the accused's father. Look at this quote from Minister Bhagirath Sanjay. It perfectly captures his ideological platform. I mean, he's built this massive public following centered entirely on intense discipline, traditional values, and morality. And according to our sources, it's exactly this strict public posture that makes the incredibly severe allegations against his own household so profoundly shocking to the public.
It's a literal night and day contrast. On one hand, you have the father holding immense law enforcement authority as the Minister of State for Home Affairs. On the other hand, his 25-year-old son is facing severe, non-bailable criminal allegations that, ironically, fall right under the purview of the very justice system his father helps oversee.
Moving on to Section 2, Initial Controversies and Past Behavior.
So, according to the source material, this actually wasn't Bhagirath's first time making headlines. During his time as a BBA student at Mahindra University, he was apparently trying to build this tough guy reputation. He previously assaulted a fellow student, which did result in an FIR. But here's the thing. His father publicly dismissed the whole incident on camera as just kids fighting. The sources suggest that this public dismissal basically gave Bhagirath a dangerous sense of invincibility and unchecked aggression in his local area.
All right, Section 3, the core allegations and how things escalated.
Let's track the timeline of this relationship because it escalated across some very specific dates and locations. They visited Lakshmana farmhouse in November, stayed at a Golf View apartment in early December, and it all culminated on New Year's Eve at Ananya farmhouse. According to the allegations in the source, it was after this New Year's party, while the victim was resting in a separate room, that Bhagirath forced himself on her despite her explicit rejections.
Now here is the absolutely crucial legal factor in all of this, the age gap. Bhagirath was a 25-year-old adult. The victim? She was only 17 years old. Legally speaking, her status as a minor transforms everything that occurred from a bad situation into a highly severe, aggravated criminal matter. It literally cannot just be brushed aside.
And the psychological fallout was just devastating. After Bhagirath allegedly forced a breakup, apparently because his father didn't approve of the relationship, the 17-year-old endured severe trauma. We're talking 2 separate suicide attempts in January. But you know what the final trigger was? The thing that finally pushed the family to go to the police? It was the discovery that Bhagirath was allegedly leaking her private photos and videos to his friends. That was the breaking point.
Which brings us to Section 4, the legal battle and the dueling FIRs.
Even before anything was officially filed, the victim's family faced massive intimidation. I mean, a mutual friend actually filed a preemptive complaint alleging the girl's family was trying to extort them. Desperate to resolve things quietly and protect their daughter's future, the family managed to secure a meeting with Minister Bhagirath Sanjay on April 23rd. But instead of finding a resolution, the source claims the minister deeply insulted them, basically forcing their hand to take formal legal action.
And this is where it turns into a total legal chess match. Look at these tight timestamps. Anticipating the family's move, Bhagirath filed a honey trap FIR at exactly 5 p.m., claiming the family was trying to extort 5 crores from him. Literally 90 minutes later at 6:30 p.m., the victim's family arrived at their local station to file their complaint of assault. Dueling narratives, right there.
But here's where it gets wild. The local police actually refused to register the family's case. They cited jurisdiction issues, but heavily implied there was political pressure from above. So what did the family do? They refused to leave. They staged a 5-hour sit-in right there at the station. That level of perseverance forced the police to file a 0 FIR. If you don't know, a 0 FIR basically means the cops have to act and register the complaint immediately for severe crimes, regardless of where the incident actually happened. Once that was filed, the charges escalated fast. Initially, the police only applied lesser POCSO sections regarding sexual gestures, but once specialized officers actually sat down and spoke directly to the minor about what happened on New Year's Eve, boom, the charges were dramatically upgraded to aggravated penetrating assault. To put that into perspective, that carries a massive penalty of 20 years to life in prison. This is as serious as it gets.
Okay, Section 5, the police investigation and the manhunt.
Now with life in prison on the table, you'd expect a swift arrest, right? Well, not quite. The manhunt faced some, let's call them, bizarre delays. The very police who should have been questioning the minister about where his son was were instead providing him security at a political rally on May 10th. By the 13th, Bhagirath was officially missing, and cops were literally pasting absconding posters all over the city. While all this is happening, paid influencers launched this vicious online campaign to victim shame a 17-year-old girl, which actually prompted the chief minister himself to publicly challenge the minister to surrender his son.
When Bhagirath was finally taken into custody, we got two totally different stories. The political side tried to claim the moral high ground, with the minister tweeting that he was voluntarily handing his son over. But the police, they maintain a totally different tactical capture narrative. They say they intercepted his vehicle during a strict checkpoint operation at 8:10 p.m. Quite the contrast.
Then came the legal showdown, and it happened during this intense, late-night court session. We're talking 9 p.m. to almost midnight. The defense's key arguments were just systematically dismantled. Her minor status? Definitively proven with dual government and school certificates. And that whole extortion claim about him sending her 50,000 rupees? Shut down instantly. Her lawyer produced bank records showing he sent the unsolicited money, and she transferred it right back immediately. Based on all those facts, the judge ordered a 14-day judicial remand.
Finally, Section 6, the political impact and ongoing escalations.
The legal net is only getting tighter. Even harsher, non-bailable charges covering repeated assault have now been tacked onto the case. And here's a crazy detail. Investigators found out the data was deliberately wiped from Bhagirath's phone right before his arrest. So now it's this high-stakes forensic race against time to try and recover those deleted photos and messages.
Because the power imbalance here is just so massive, the victim's sole advocate has actually escalated the matter straight to the top. He wrote directly to the Prime Minister and the President of India, demanding the minister's removal. He's basically saying, look, we have to do this to prevent systemic manipulation, which really highlights the immense, very real fear the victim's family is still operating under. So we'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. How does the grand promise of a disciplined, highly moral public administration reconcile with the dark, documented realities of this case? And ultimately, can the justice system truly withstand the immense political pressure to deliver fairness for a 17-year-old girl? Thank you for joining us for this explainer of the source material. We'll see you in the next one.